Do you know that time that you're on a sports podcast and you're talking and talking and talking, and then you realize you're not live? That's what I'm doing for the next 3 minutes. So for 3 minutes, I've been talking to the audience that was not there. So, ladies and gentlemen, Seth Kamens is over there, Sean Palmer over here, and it's more apropos today than probably any other day that we talk on the show that he is the old man. Because tomorrow, Seth turns 49, and for 48 hours, he is older than me. So he is the old man.
Yet if you look at my hair, or lack thereof, it looks like it's a hell of a lot more than 2 days worth.
Well,
Happy birthday, old.
Well, hold on. I'd like to point out, as I broached with my nephew Caleb, hair, the amount of hair is directly correlating to height. So if you're taller, people can't see the top of your head. So thus, when he was 8 years old, he actually bought the fact that if you're taller, you are destined to have less hair. So that's the reason why I have a half a head of hair, and my younger brother, who is 5'2", has a full head of hair. He actually bought that for about 2 years.
And then your older brother has not had hair since I've known him.
Right. He hasn't had hair since he was 20, but he's also 6'1". So directly correlation.
That's no bigger than me.
Right. Direct correlation, except he does not have 2 kids.
That's why my hair is gray as opposed to.
No, that's why you have none, because you've been pulling it out.
There you go.
Well, anyway.
I thought that was my wife.
No. I do not speak ill of the wife. I am not going down that path. That is not a beneficial path for this guy at all. So anyway, happy early birthday.
You too.
49. Here we are. I will say you did not win the draft this year.
I had no doubt. It
was a lot closer than you probably thought it was, but you did not win. But first, and I'm going to do this every show at the beginning of the show until it no longer is true. First place in Major League Baseball right now at 21-9 is the Look, I know it's April 30th. I know a lot can happen in the next 9 months until the baseball season is over. It's really 5 months, but Seth gets my point. But it's very rare that the Mets, A, are in first place in the East, B, are in first place in the National League, C, are first place in all of baseball. And they have gone 13-1 at home in their first 14 games. That is impressive. Let's call it spade to spade. That's impressive.
Excuse me for 1 second. Are we done?
I guess. I mean, look.
What kind of sports show could we host where one of the co-hosts just yawns every time baseball's mentioned in April? Look, congratulations.
They have a 4.5 game lead, which is not nothing. Which, look, when you start out,
it's April.
It's not nothing.
Really nothing.
It's not nothing. The Dodgers only have a 1 game lead. The Yankees only have a 1.5 game lead. The Mets have the biggest lead in baseball right now.
Because A, the Yankees aren't very good.
But the Dodgers are.
Yes, but their division is much tougher than the Yankees division, not the National League. This is looking at the American versus National League. It's like looking. The Dodgers
play. Hold on. To your point, the Dodgers play in a division with the Colorado Rockies, who are 4-25.
Fantastic. And you play in a division. Well, I guess the Marlins aren't actually as hard.
Marlins are 12-17, which is actually better than the Baltimore Orioles, who we picked to be in the playoffs.
Which is completely confusing. This reminds me, to be perfectly honest, of all the NBA Western Conference over the last, where 9 of the 11 best teams were in the NFC, were in the West.
But I'm okay with that this year. I'm truly
okay with that because it's April 30th and you're winning. Let's see where you are in July when you're 6.5 back, better record than the Yankees, and the Yankees are 7.5 up in the East.
Wait, you think they're going to be 6.5 back in July?
No, I'm just making up an example.
Oh, okay.
I mean, do you think they're going to be 4.5 up in July?
I think they'll be up in July. Given that they're 4.5 up now, yeah, I don't think they're going to lose the lead by July.
You want to do double or nothing on the Will Howard bet?
Yes, 100%. I need that.
By the way, you weren't even close.
Oh no, I was not. But we weren't close on a lot of these picks. So I mean,
well, there's a difference between being off by 5 or 6 picks. Then there's Will Howard threshold, and then there's Shedeur Sanders threshold.
I was just going to say, you got to. I know I had Shedeur Sanders early, but you had him earlier than me. So you had him 21st. I had him 26th. So
how much must Mike Tomlin not have wanted him?
Oh, tremendously, right?
To pass on him 4 times? Cleveland, who took him?
4 times.
Cleveland, who took him, took a quarterback before him. And the problem is, no, there's so many rumors about what it was about.
Yeah, we can't speak intelligently on that. We can just hypothesize, right? I mean,
right. And even that is uncomfortable because it's uncomfortable.
Oh no, I don't feel it's uncomfortable. I really don't. I feel what's uncomfortable, and I may be wading into waters that are not supposedly politically correct, and I'm okay with that every once in a while. But I'm gonna wade into it. I don't believe this is a race issue. Like, I don't want to hear it. Not one bit do I believe this is a race issue. And I continually hear that Eli Manning did this, John Elway did this, other people have done this. The one thing that Eli Manning and John Elway had that Shedeur Sanders does not is top 5 talent. Nobody believed. Look, everybody. There were people that believed that he went in the top 5 because he's a quarterback, and because compared to every other quarterback, he was better than them. But there was never an instance where he was better than Cam Ward. Never, not one.
No, unless your name is Mel Kiper.
Right. Okay. But to say that other people did this crap and didn't get pushed down because they were Caucasian as opposed to being black. No, I don't buy it for a second. I don't. If you have, look, talent always wins, right? Talent always wins. Barry Bonds was in the major leagues because he was the best player in the major leagues. He stayed there. If people had Barry Bonds issues with that clear and whatever steroids, and they were not hitting 40 home runs and 100 RBIs, they were hitting 20 home runs and 70 RBIs, he would have been gone 5 years before he even happened.
Yep.
Michael Vick never would have been able to come back to the NFL if he did not have immense talent. Talent is what overrides all the crap, and whether you are willing to forgive the crap to be in this sport, any sport. So I don't, Seth, I don't buy it. I don't buy it.
I get it.
I don't buy it.
I get it. I mean, look, what we have heard and what we have read, and there was one source who I would never name, but it's legitimate. And what we heard was this with the Giants is they send packages to every quarterback a week in advance. The quarterback's supposed to study up on it. They meet and they go over it. Supposedly, he didn't. Again, don't know if it's true, but it is from someone in the NFL that I heard this. And he took out his phone and took calls during the meetings. And when he got called out for not studying the playbook, he did not take it very well. And the one thing that that you don't want is you don't want a celebrity show as a backup quarterback.
That's right.
That's why Tim Tebow really, other than his 1-year run with Denver, never. I mean, as an athlete, he was good enough to be in the pros, No one wanted to put up with the sideshow that goes with him. My assumption is, look, there were 31 teams that could have drafted him. There were 7 or 8 teams that needed quarterbacks. Now you look at a Cleveland, and they look, 26 is supposed to be a better quarterback draft. Nussmeier from LSU, Drew Aller from Penn State, Arch Manning.
That's my guy. That's my guy.
Who?
Drew Aller from Penn State. That's the guy I want. I'm throwing it out a year in advance. I threw it out earlier this year when we first started talking draft, before the declarations. That's the guy I want the Jets to get. So
okay.
Anyway.
Well, you may be in a position. Look, I think you're going to be fine with Fields. I've said, how much have I said about Fields over the years?
Yeah, I agree.
like him.
But is he a guy that can take you to the next level, or is he just a?
We don't know. We're going to find out.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
Your team is not bad.
But that's my guy. That's I wanted Josh. Look, I can go back to Josh Allen. That has been made. This is my guy. This is the guy that I want the Jets to get. But anyway, moving forward.
So
I get what you're saying. By the way, Cleveland made an amazing trade. I love their trade.
Yes.
I love what Jacksonville did too. But they better damn well be right, because if they're not, they gave
the
up.
34-year-old GM may not live to be 35. I get it.
Well, may not have a job at 35.
That's
anyway.
what I mean.
Yeah. Look, so okay. So first, Shedeur Sanders drops 5 rounds. And the knock on him, obviously, is the off-the-field antics and what's going on. And, hey, the Browns are 1-5, and Shedeur is being put in there, and they lose their first game, and Stefanski's on thin ice, and he gets asked, well, would your father be interested in this job? Right? Isn't that the next step? Isn't that the next question?
I look at the coaches. I look at the legitimate teams who are looking for quarterbacks. Let's forget Tennessee. Tennessee goes Cam Ward. No one's arguing that pick.
Right. We said this last week. It's Pittsburgh, right?
Whose coach has all the flexibility in the world.
Right. The Giants.
The Giants picked a quarterback in the first round. They made their call. Dable and Shane are basing their future on Jackson Dart.
Yep. And by the way, I did predict a trade for the Giants. I just was 1 pick short. I predicted the trade up to 26 to get Sanders, not to get Dart. But they traded with 25. I like the trade for the Giants.
Yeah, I thought the Giants did a great job in the draft.
Yeah.
This is the happiest Giants draft I can remember. From 1st to 7. Look, it's easy to crush Joe Shane on certain things. On the Evan Neal, Caden Thibodeau draft. But the reality is everybody was going to do the same thing.
Yep.
They were going to take an offensive lineman, whether it was him, whether it was Charles Cross, who I think is a pretty middle of the road lineman in Seattle. And the guy from NC State, I forget his name, who I don't think they picked up his fifth year option also. So none of them really worked. And Thibodeau was the logical pick at 5 or at 7 because I think they wanted Gardner, and I think Sauce went 4. Did Sauce go 4?
Went 4. Yep.
Yeah.
He went 4.
So those were their 2. So I don't kill them on that. Other picks I could have done without, but I thought they did well with last year's draft. Neighbors is a stud. Tyrone Tracy's did a nice job as a 5th round pick. I forget a couple. Theo Johnson's going to be their starting tight end. And I thought they did really well with this draft.
Yeah.
Look, we've said this many times. We're not scouts.
Nope.
I can't determine whether a guy's twitch is good enough for him to be a 2nd round or 3rd round pick as a defensive lineman. I can't do it. I just know I look at the Giants. What are the 4 or 5 things they need that kind of fit? They need a quarterback for their future. Now the question is, and this is where I get a little on it. I didn't really need them to take a quarterback here, as strange as this sounds. Reason being is this. You now are, in my mind, you're now tied to Dable for 2 years
2 years.
because Wilson will be your quarterback this year. Dart's going to better be your quarterback next year because otherwise the trade's a waste. And if you've traded a second, a third, and next year's third for your quarterback, you kind of got to give the guy who wanted the quarterback a chance to use him. And with Winston and Wilson there, he's not going to play this year. So that's why I didn't need them to move up for a QB. But it really saved Shane and Dable 2 years, so I don't blame them for doing it. Unless you're 2-14, and then, because who wants to come in and have the rookie quarterback who they traded up to get, who hasn't played, and if the guy doesn't like him, then you really wasted a first round pick, or you wasted the trade. So, but I like the nose. They need a defensive line. They got a nose tackle at 3 in the beginning of the third round, or defensive tackle, I should say. They needed a running back to complement Tracy. They needed a big guy. Scatabo is a big dude, and he is. I don't think he's got a 15-year career in him, but I think for 5 years he's going to bust people up. They needed an offensive lineman. They got a guard, which everyone had going in the third round. They got him in the 5th. I can't really argue. They did exactly what they probably should have done. So good for Joe Shane. Hopefully it does something.
So this is the least disappointing draft for me as a Jets fan that I can remember. we don't think of, well, I guess, look, you can't fault the Garrett Wilson draft, right? You get Garrett Wilson, Ahmed Saucer, and Jermaine Johnson.
No, okay. You killed it. I mean,
right.
The Johnson injury is a fluke,
Right. You killed it. And you pick them all.
Gardner was the best cornerback 2 years ago in the league. He just wasn't very good last year.
And you pick up all the options, and you're good to go. So anyway, looking back on our picks, by the way, you finished with a 59 out of a possible 160. I finished with a 63 out of 160. So we both did
terrible for both of us.
Both did not do well. So we both obviously got the first 3 picks right. You started going askew in pick 4. I busted some 4s later in the draft. I got Loveland flat on, going number 10 to the Bears. I had a trade up, but the trade didn't matter because the Bears took him anyway. We both picked Zabel going to
Seattle.
Yep. I got Donovan Jackson at number 4. I got at number 25. He went 24, so I got 4 points for that. I got Starks at 29. He went 27, and I got Simmons. Simmons was a big one at the end. We both got Simmons. He goes 32. We got him at 31, but we were fine with that. So overall, not our best performance by any stretch, right? Not too many trades in the first round. I believe there were only 2, right?
3. You have Travis Hunter,
right?
You have Jackson Dart.
Yep. And the Eagles traded up 1 spot.
No, I wasn't even talking about that. The Rams, I believe the Rams were going to take Jackson Dart at 26.
Okay.
But once he was gone, they traded down to Atlanta.
Oh, that's right. They traded out.
What a great trade for them.
The Rams.
For the Rams, yeah.
Yeah, I don't understand what the Falcons are doing just in general.
Nope.
Every time they make a pick in the first round, the people of Atlanta are like Jets fans. So like, why? Let's do this again.
Well, let's think about it logically. They have no pass rush. So they took 2 pass rushers in the first round.
I get it.
But yeah, to trade next year's first round pick.
Right.
Seems a little, I mean, the Rams are the big team that always trades their first round picks. And even they decided to go get another one because they may be a team who needs a quarterback contingent on Stafford. Stafford's 37 years old.
Yep.
He's a $45 million salary.
Well, you got
they're really good. The Rams are really good.
Yeah, you got two teams that have additional first-round picks next year. You have two teams. You have Cleveland, which made that massive trade with Jacksonville, and you have the Rams, both of which may need quarterbacks next year. And
I mean, it's interesting. The person that Sanders is being most compared to is Kenny Pickett, ironically. And Kenny Pickett was just traded to Cleveland. That is an interesting QB room, to say the least.
Is it though? I mean, the QB
it's
room
interesting.
Is Joe Flacco. It's Joe Flacco, Dylan Gabriel, Kenny Pickett, and Shedeur Sanders. I don't know if interesting or meh is the right word for that.
Could be both.
I mean, yeah. I mean, it's pretty meh. I mean, if you think about it, there's not much there. When you look at the trade that was made for Travis Hunter, and look, good on the Browns for trading down, I believe, in my opinion. Good on the Jaguars for making a leap where they thought that this guy is going to be a generational star, which everything points to him being a generational star. And I got to say, I don't know if did you see him hop on stage when he got picked?
Yes.
I've never seen somebody more excited. I've never seen somebody that exuded happiness that he did. Like, he was just, this was his show. Yeah. And I'm always happy to see people realize their dreams because, truth be told, my dream is being a GM of a sports team, which will never happen. So when you look at them, though, and look at all, and I know this is said on ESPN, all the hard work that goes into doing this, it is hard work. I can't imagine the amount of physical toll that they take on a daily basis doing what they do. And their families take in knowing that in some cases, this is their way out, right? This is what they get. This is the end of a culmination of something. So Travis Hunter was traded to the Browns there for the 5th pick, which turned into Mason Graham, which I got right. I just got the wrong team. A 2nd-round pick, a 4th-round pick, and next year's 1st-round pick. And Jacksonville, I don't know if you agree with me, is not one cornerback and one wide receiver away from contention. That could be a top 10 pick next year without any issue.
It could be, but remember, 2 years ago, Jacksonville made the final 8 of the playoffs and gave Buffalo, I forget if it was Buffalo or Kansas City, a hell of a scare. So the team has underachieved the last 2 years. But I'm very reticent to write off any team I'm very reticent to write off teams in the NFL because it seems to jump so quickly. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't think the Russell Wilson-led New York Giants are going to the Super Bowl anytime soon. But in general, that division is not strong.
All right. Hold on a second. So they have traded Christian Kirk. They have released Evan Ingram. They have Mitch Morse, their center, retired. They released Josh Reynolds and released Devin Duvernay.
Who?
Duvernay, the kick returner. Devin Duvernay.
Okay.
The old guy from Baltimore. So they have added, okay, let's see who they've added, right? So they've added Cole Van Lannon, Jordan Lewis, Nick Mullins, Chuma Aduga, Hunter Long, Robert Hainsey. That does not sound like a team that was better. You lost 3 of your top 4 pass catchers. You lost your starting center. You didn't replace any of those guys, unless Travis Hunter is going to play every down, all downs. I don't see how this team is better. I just don't. And they lost their center, Andre Sisco, to the Jets. And Mac Jones.
They're safety.
Yeah, we should always talk about Mac Jones, right? Because Mac Jones is now the backup for the 49ers. Kyle Shanahan finally got his guy. Congrats. All All right. So if we're looking at winners in the draft, or surprises, right? Loveland going before Warren was a surprise to me. That was one of the bigger surprises. Now, that just means Ben Johnson knows who he wants, right?
Right.
And I'm going to pick the guy that I want. I don't care what anybody else says. Banks going to the Saints at 9. That was I mean, you had picked Membo there, so you thought that they were going to go offensive line, which makes sense considering they've lost Trevor Penning and Teron Armstead over the last couple of years.
And Ryan Ramczyk retired.
Right. Yeah.
But, I mean, who won? Caleb Williams won. They have a tight end. They drafted Luther Burden.
Yep.
I forget who the running back is that they brought in, but they brought in another running back. This team has more weapons than they know what to do with at this point. Because you have Romeo Dunze, you have DJ Moore, you have Luther Burden. Those are your starting three wideouts.
Yep.
That feels pretty good.
Yep.
You have Colston Loveland and Cole Kmet. Solid tight end. Your tight ends are solid.
Yep.
I don't remember, as I said, I don't remember if it was Jenkins or Henderson that they took as a running back, but I'm pretty sure. I'm looking it up now. Let's see here. Or maybe they didn't. I thought they took a running. Oh, they took the guy from Rutgers. But this is a team that wasn't devoid of weapons, but they brought in, I think, 3 new offensive linemen.
Yep. Joe Tooney.
They brought in the center from Drew Delman, I think they brought in. So this Ben Johnson has put together what feels like a juggernaut of an offense. If Caleb Williams can be what we expect Caleb Williams to be. I think he won. I think the Giants won. I thought the Giants killed this draft. If Jackson Dart is the guy you want, and as he said, I am not a scout, but if they're saying he is Josh Allen light, now again, very light, but if he can be their starting quarterback in a year, they did very nicely.
So my winner is the team that only had 5 picks. And why did they only have 5 picks? Because they traded 2 of them. So you have to include those people in this draft, right? If you trade a pick for a player, you include the player in the draft. Okay? The Washington Commanders did very well. Josh Connolly, look, if Jaden Daniels is the guy, right? Jaden Daniels is the guy. Aside, I mean, look, we've seen this act before, right? Robert Griffin. Like, it just looks very similar to Robert Griffin, unfortunately. And the one thing that Robert Griffin did not have was a line that protected him. That's why he had to run the way he did. So they go out and they get Josh Connolly. Okay. They need weapons. Okay. Well, they need more of a line. So they go and they trade I believe it was their 3rd round pick, and they get Laramie Tunsil from the Texans. That is 2 stud picks to put on a line where you need protection. Then you need a couple of weapons. Okay, our 4th round pick is Jalen Lane, who's a speedster. And then our 5th round pick, we got that guy from San Francisco, Deebo Samuel. Not bad. And then we need a little help in the back in the back end of the defense. We go get Trey Amos, who I had as a 1st round pick. This is a solid draft. Now, on top of that, they got a new stadium. I mean, on top of everything, they got a new stadium this week. Now, granted, they had to pay an exorbitant amount of money for that stadium, but they are getting a stadium. Did you hear how much the split is? The split's tremendous.
I thought it was $3 billion total. 2-1. I don't remember what it was.
It's over $2 billion had to be paid by the Commanders. So while you normally had a 60-40 split going public versus the team, the Commanders flipped that. Well, Washington, D.C. flipped it on its head. So now it's 75-25 that it has to be funded by the team. So, hey, Cleveland, hey, Cincinnati, hey, Chicago, look at what's going on here. You may not get the public funding that you once thought you were going to get.
And this is after a year after they paid what, $6 billion?
$6 billion. And they're going back to DC. This is not, they're going right on the RFK site.
Yep. Last time I was there was for, I think it was the Horde Fest or Lollapalooza. I forget which. It's been a long time.
I was there for a couple of Nationals games when they first started. One of the worst stadiums to watch baseball ever.
And now they're in one of the best stadiums to watch baseball.
That is true. Well, it used to be if you sat behind home plate, the overhang came down so you couldn't see the outfield. So you were sitting in what you thought was a primo section, except the only thing you could see was the radio announcers that were above you on the catwalk. You could not see any of the field. So, yeah, not the greatest of situations. Okay, a little bit of bad news that's resulting out of the NFL, and then we'll turn our attention to the NBA. Jordan Travis retired today.
Did he really?
He did. So complications of his leg. So Jordan Travis was probably a first-round pick coming out of school from FSU until he broke his leg and dislocated his ankle in a bowl game. Oh, no, before the bowl game.
Before the bowl game, because that led to the whole controversy
of
whether Florida State should be in.
Right. On November 18th, and I quote, on November 18, 2023, my life and career took an unexpected turn, Travis said in a statement. I gave everything I had to the rehab process, but despite my efforts, my leg never responded the way we hoped. After much prayer and consultation with my doctors and medical team, I have been medically advised to retire from the game that I love so deeply.
Oh, that's terrible.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah, and it once again goes to the point that I was trying to make before, how these guys put forth the effort and the effort and the effort. And now they're getting paid, right? You're getting paid with NIL. You're getting at least a little bit of that. But it's like putting your you're putting all your money in one stock. And if you get hurt November 18th of your senior year, the stock's not going to pay off. You've put all your savings into one stock. And it's really unfortunate that he had to retire. Look, as a Jets fan, you never looked at him as a starting quarterback or even somebody that it was a lottery ticket. You hope he would pan out at some point. The unfortunate part is he did not, and he had to retire today. So,
apparently, I'm now reading the article on ESPN because I didn't realize this.
Yeah.
In early March, Travis's agent was critical of the Jets, telling ESPN his rehab with the Jets was not the best.
Yep.
They tried to rush him. It was too fast. There was pressure on the coaching staff, and they tried to get him sooner than the timeline really was. That caused a setback, and we had to shut him down completely. Eek. Not great.
No, it's just not. Finished fifth in the Heisman. Like, look, the young, I'll call him the young. I don't know what you call him, the young man. Look, he's not dead, right? He just needs to retire. So it is an unfortunate circumstance for him that he had to retire. Okay, let's move on to a little bit of the NBA. First, how much of this have you watched?
I've been a decent amount. I've been having a lot of multi-screens.
Okay.
You're very lucky.
Well, multi-screens are good. I am, yes, no question. Okay, so let's go into a couple of these series. First of all, the Thunder beat the Grizzlies 4-0, right?
Mm-hmm.
They also spanked them by like 60 points in game one.
Correct.
Which I don't know if you watched any of that game. But the backups,
that game I didn't. I was away for that game. I did not.
But the backups were out. The backups of the Thunder outscored the starters for the Grizzlies. That's all you need to say. The backups outscored the starters. Okay. Denver leads the Clippers 3-2. Talk about being lucky at the right time, Lorenzo Charles style. Aaron Gordon.
Wow, that was as amazing a dunk. That was amazing.
That was Lorenzo Charles.
Except the funny part was Lorenzo Charles, there was no one up there. Aaron Gordon outjumped like two people. We all know Aaron Gordon can jump. He was second in the slam dunk contest.
Should have won it both times.
Should have won it both times. But wow.
Well, here's the interesting thing. Jokic, who was having a decent game, not a great game, he takes that shot. You realize if he hit any part of the rim, that game is over. The only reason...
No, it's a tie. He goes into overtime.
I thought they were down one.
No.
They were tied? Okay. Well, they don't win because there's not enough time for a rebound and a putback. That was it. That was the only way that they were going to win that game, was with that dunk. So the Nuggets are up 3-2 in a series that they probably should be down. They play, I believe they play tonight. Yes,
they do. They played last night.
They play tomorrow.
2 West Conference games tonight.
Right. And again, you look at this and you look at what Jokic is doing. All right, we can continually be amazed by Nikola Jokic. 29.6, 12.7 rebounds, and 10.2 assists. I saw the other day somebody had posted, Jokic can't be in the top 10 players of all time, and he may not even be in the top 5 centers of all time because there's nobody historically in his era that can match up with him. So it's basically the Patrick Ewing, David Robinson, Shaquille O'Neal concept, where if you don't have somebody, or George Mikan, right? If you don't have somebody that can compete with you, then you can't be declared one of the best ever. I think it's garbage.
Well, wait a minute. You just literally named 3 centers that were in the same era.
No, that makes them better because they played against each other, as opposed to George Mikan, who played against nobody, right? And correct. So can you make George Mikan one of the top 25 players of all time when he played against nobody? Can you make Wilt one of the top 25 players of all time, since at the beginning of his career, he really didn't play against anybody of his stature? I think the argument is garbage. I think you play in the era in which you play. And
agreed.
If be told, you want to say nobody's as good as Jokic. No guard is as good as Jokic.
I think the argument comes into play if there is something specific which doesn't allow you to play against the best in your era. Babe Ruth didn't play against Satchel Paige.
Sure. That
kind of idea. But you can't compare era to era. I mean, it can't be done. I mean, would you? I would take Jokic over Ewing, over Robinson in a heartbeat. I would take him over Shaq. I don't know if I would take him over Olajuwon. That one I'm not sure on. But not saying it can't be there.
Well, Olajuwon is the most modern equivalent to him.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, he is.
I mean, Olajuwon a little bit better on defense, Jokic a little bit better on offense, but all in all, that's the comp if you're going to make one. And
that's the modern era comp.
Right.
Because going older, we didn't see Sabonis when he played in the USSR.
And before that, it's Walton. And before that,
it's Walton.
And before that's
Wilt was really for 1 or 2 years.
Yep.
Because the Wilt that averaged 45 points a game is not the same player that Jokic is. It's the Wilt who led the league in assists.
That's right.
In '66 when they won the title. That is the comp. And he did that pretty much as I'll show you that I can pass the ball.
And
almost
you know
as a dare.
Good on him that he was able to show us that he was able to pass the ball because
well, not his most impressive accomplishment, but up there.
Would you like to tell us what his most impressive accomplishment was?
This is a sports show. It's no longer so no.
You sure about that? I'm waiting for it.
Hey, 20,000 women. That's impressive.
Yeah.
Or sad, whichever way you want to look at it.
I mean, the Clippers win. Sorry, the Nuggets win 131 to 115 in Game 4, and who shows up?
Jamal Murray.
We have, ladies and gentlemen, if you have not watched the playoffs, you would have thought that Jamal Murray, if you did not watch the regular season, you would have thought Jamal Murray was like a first-team All-NBA player. Because playoff Jamal Murray, I don't know what goes on. It's like he flips on the Energizer Bunny battery. 17 for 26. First of all, he took 26 shots on a team with the best player in the world. Jokic took 13.
Yeah. I mean, Jokic went for 13, 12, and 10. I mean, which for a normal person is fantastic. It's a triple double. For Jokic, it's 30% under par. But the team has played better since Mike Malone is no longer there. We'll see what happens. They'll be whoever it is. If it's them, they'll be playing a very rested and very good Oklahoma City team. And look, I don't think they have the bench to beat them, but if Denver's playing well, that's not a comfortable matchup for anybody.
Yeah, that was exactly. I don't know what happened, guys. Sometimes internet problems, and that was what this was. So Jamal Murray goes 17 for 26, 8 for 14 from 3 for 43 points and a plus 17. Now, Michael Porter Jr. playing with one shoulder, or what seems to be one shoulder, as he hurt his non-shooting shoulder. However, for anybody that's shot a basketball knows, you do use both shoulders when you shoot. Plays 37 minutes.
Does that explain your wonderful all-time shooting percentage that you have this kind of knowledge base?
Oh, my shooting percentage is horrible. I was just wanted to point out he scored 14 points. Okay. On 5 of 10 in 37 minutes, which is a lot of minutes for only 14 points. The guy
it's a lot of minutes for like 10 shots.
The guy that we continually say, Seth, is the weak point of this defense is Michael Porter Jr. We have said this throughout, except when Westbrook's on the court. He goes plus 34. He goes plus 34. Nobody else on the team is above plus 18. He goes plus 34 on 37 minutes. So obviously he was doing something right.
Yes.
Kawhi goes minus 7. Harden, my favorite defensive player of all time, goes
behind Trae Young.
Minus 16 on 3 for 9 shooting and only 0 for 2. Look, James Harden has had some really good games in the playoffs in the last couple of years. If the Clippers are going to win this series, and look, they have now the Nuggets are back in home court. Game 7 would be played in Denver, which is like Oklahoma City's dream. Yes, please play Game 6 and please play Game 7 and beat the crap out of each other. This is the Harden we remember. This is not the Harden that the Clippers need. This Harden is back to playoff. This is the opposite of Jamal Murray. It's like he turned off the Energizer Bunny when he came into the playoffs. Ivica Zubac, 11 for 15 from the field.
Oof.
But a minus 15 on the defense. They just didn't play well. Let's think about this.
Yeah.
Nikola Jokic, the best player in the world, right? We both agree. He may not be the MVP this year, but he's the best player in the world. Okay, Shea's going to win MVP. It's the Charles Barkley Award, right? This is what this is coming down to. Nikola Jokic goes 4 for 13 for 13 points. And they lose by 6. They win by 16.
By 16.
I mean, the Clippers might have lost their shot with Aaron Gordon. That may have just been the end of that.
Could be.
But we got a couple more series going. Yes, Minnesota. Way to go. Timberwolves coming back. I love it. Timberwolves up 3-1. I think I predicted that they would win in 6, so 5 would be nice. They play tonight
Correct. They're the late game tonight.
They play in LA tonight. Game 5. Did you watch the last game? At least the last half of the last game, where they went with the same.
I didn't, but I know that I did not. But I know that that they did not have a single player come off their bench in the second half.
Right, and it showed one thing, and you and I have talked about this throughout the second half of the year. There's no depth on this team. This is it.
Nope.
When Dorian Finney-Smith is being your center, and you're playing your what does Golden State call it? Their death offense, their death defense, right? But Dorian Finney-Smith instead of Draymond Green, and no Stephen Curry, and no shooting, right? Other than Luka.
Oh, you got Luka. I mean, you have shooting. You have Luka.
All right, so I'm picking the Timberwolves to lose tonight and win Game 6 at home.
Well, and look, we both took them and took Golden State.
We did. Oh no, I think I took the Rockets.
Oh, you did take the Rockets. I took Golden State.
I think I took the Rockets. And I am shocked by how well they are playing. Shocked by how well the Warriors are playing.
Why?
Why
are you shocked?
I just thought that the Rockets would be able to run all over them, and they just haven't been able to do it.
Rockets can't shoot.
Well,
they don't have a number one.
Well, hold on.
Maybe they make a run at Giannis. Maybe they make a run at Durant. Then you need to have a definitive number one. And all of these teams have it. Name a playoff team that's going to win a series that doesn't have a number one. Now, it may not be a number one. It may not be a Jokic.
All right, so your number one is Shea, Jokic, Anthony Edwards, I guess Stephen Curry, right? Donovan Mitchell.
Or Jimmy Butler is a number one.
Donovan Mitchell.
Indiana, maybe you're out.
Tyrese Halliburton, Jalen Brunson,
or Siakam. But the Knicks have Brunson and Towns. I mean, Towns hit. How New York is up 3-2 in this series is amazing because they don't belong in this series at this point.
They've won like 3 quarters in the entire series.
Yeah,
but I did tell you this was going to be harder than it looked.
Yes, but you did not think that Detroit would outplay them.
No, I thought that they would have a really hard time stopping Cade Cunningham, and they have had a really hard time stopping Cade Cunningham. I think, truth be told, they match up better. Now, match up is a bad word. I think the Celtics players match up better with – there's no Cade Cunningham. There's none.
Correct.
So
you don't have the point guard who's going to devour you.
Right.
And exploit Brunson on the defensive end.
Yeah. By the way, I think I heard this the other day. Jason Tatum is now 35th overall in scoring and he just passed Oscar Robertson in playoff scoring. Jason Tatum is 29 years old.
Well, but that doesn't mean they play 4 series now.
That's true.
In the good old days, they played 2.
That's true.
Again, not a reasonable comparison.
Fair enough. So the Cavaliers win their series 4-0. We're moving over to East. Cavaliers.
Yeah, I got a question on this.
What, did the Miami Heat show up? Because I'm not sure.
They were down 53 points in the 4th game. They obviously didn't show up. At what point does Mickey Arison say, "Look, we really haven't been relevant. Like we're really not relevant right now"?
Yeah.
Do we ever do anything with Spoelstra or Riley?
No, because I think the one team trust. I'm going to say trust. Well, let's talk about first of all, I don't believe so, and I think the next series is exactly why. Right. So next series we talk about is the Pacers win over the Bucks 4-1. Mm-hmm. Damian Lillard, unfortunately, tears his Achilles. I cannot see a situation in which Giannis is there next year. Unless he walks in and says, I need to be a Buck the rest of my life. He pulls a Devin Booker.
Which he's already said he will not do.
Okay. So let's play this out. of teams that Giannis would want to go to. And I know you said the Rockets before. Okay. I know you could say the Suns. That ain't happening anytime in the.
No, the Suns have nothing to offer.
Okay. So where does he go? Miami.
Miami's
Miami. You throw together a Giannis package for Hero, Duncan Robinson, and Jacques.
Is Robinson even in their rotation at this point?
No, he's not. And
what the hell are they going to do with Duncan Robinson?
And he's filler because you're going to give him 2 first-round picks on top of that.
You're giving him more than that. He's got 2 years left on his deal.
Who's got 2 years left on his deal? Duncan Robinson? Yeah.
No, Giannis.
Giannis has 4 years left on his deal, buddy.
I thought he signed
3 after this year. 3 after this year.
Okay.
One of them may be an option. One of them may be an option.
A top 5 player in the league. Consensus.
Tell me where you can trade him in today's NBA. Tell me, please, tell me with all the rules where you can fit $48.5 million into somebody's cap. There's only one team that has that amount of cap room, period. That's your Brooklyn Nets.
Yeah, I know. And they're not trading for him.
Okay, so let's talk about this really quick. San Antonio, okay? They could trade Stephen Castle, Keldon Johnson, a bunch of the Hawks picks. You can make that happen. That would be the best defensive lineup in a long time.
The question is that redundant with Wemby?
All right, so let's see where else he would go, okay? He's not going to Atlanta. He's not going to Boston. He's not going to Charlotte. Remember, he's going to get to pick his place in all likelihood.
I don't know if he's going to get to pick.
All right, well, let's keep going through.
I think he gets to exclude certain things.
Charlotte, Chicago, no. They don't have anything.
No.
Okay. Cleveland, no. Now, I understand if you open this up, 32 teams would want this guy, right?
Of course.
I'm not making that claim. Okay. So if you trade him to Cleveland, you're not giving up Donovan Mitchell. You're not giving up Evan Mobley. So you're putting Jared Allen, Darius Garland, and a bunch of picks? Sure. Does that fit under the cap? No. Can't do that anyway. Because of the aprons, you need either a third team, which would take some of these players, or you can't make the deal. Okay, Detroit, no. Indiana, no. The Knicks, they have no picks.
No, the Knicks isn't where I'm thinking.
This is where the picks kill you. This is where the lack of picks kill you because the Knicks wanted Giannis. You could trade an OG and 3 picks and maybe go there, but they don't have picks.
No, the Knicks weren't where I was going.
Orlando, love it. I love the Orlando fit. Won't happen, but love the Orlando fit. Philly
too, because they need a number 1 offensive player.
Yep,
and they're dangerous as hell.
Okay, so you're trading either Pablo or Franz, right? And a bunch of picks. All right, Philadelphia.
Oh, wait a minute. Just off the top of my head. Now, again, I'm Milwaukee. I'm not overly excited about Wagner in this trade, but he's at 45. He signed a 5-year, $230 million deal.
Franz Wagner
with contract.
That's an extension. That's not a deal right now. That's not the amount of money that he's making.
Does the deal kick in next year?
Yes, but you have to wait till next year starts.
Okay.
Right? Right now he's on a poison pill. You can take in $36 million, but he only counts as 7 going out.
Okay.
Ain't gonna work. So you'd have to use Pablo, and Pablo only makes 12.
Because you have the same problem.
Same problem. Okay. So.
Okay, here's where this is why you're the capologist.
Toronto. Scotty Barnes and a bunch of picks.
No, there's you're going to put him in the middle of nowhere land. He's got nothing. He'll never approve of the deal.
Okay.
I think you're forgetting the obvious one.
Well, the Rockets.
I just don't know. The Rockets are obvious, but again, can you trade him to Oklahoma City
Yes.
for Zaire Williams, Hardenstein, some other filler, and 2 first-round picks?
100%. 100% that trade could happen. Yep. And you would
That's-
have the most expensive team in the history of the NBA in 2 years.
You would, but you're also
Yeah,
going to win 2 titles.
You'd have to trade Hardenstein, probably Aaron Wiggins. Where the heck is – oh, I was going to say Jalen Williams. I would think that would have to be part of it, right?
Yes, I would think so.
Jalen Williams, Hartenstein. This is not the Jalen Williams. I think Jalen Williams.
I thought it was Zaire Williams.
No, there's a big Jalen Williams and a small Jalen Williams. There's 2 Jalen Williams.
The All-Star. The All-Star small forward.
Yeah, but here he is. I think this is him. Hold on. Yeah, he's only making like $3 million right now. That's not helpful. But yes, they could finagle this. Or if you wanted to do a Chet, you wouldn't do a Chet. But
you may do a Chet.
Well, you know what I said last week. I said, if this is a draft where you want to go get Cooper Flagg and you're Oklahoma City, I'll give you 12 first-round picks for Cooper Flagg. Because they can do it.
Right. So if they lose, let's say they lose to Minnesota in the conference finals.
Yep.
You trade Chet, because Chet has I don't know, is Chet's contract kicked in yet, or we have the same problem?
Same problem. No, you'd probably have to put Hardenstein in there because Hardenstein earns $30 million.
Right. So
you do Hardenstein,
Williams, and 3 first-round picks, or 2 first, something along those lines.
Yeah, that works.
That works. And then if you want to trade more of your picks and go try and get Cooper. Now again, I don't think anyone's trading the first pick in this draft for 4 first-round picks. I don't see it happening.
Oh, I was saying 12. Because I wasn't saying 4.
Fine. You get my point, though.
I do.
I mean, because if you're Washington or you're Brooklyn or you're Utah, you're looking for your future superstar.
Yeah, this is your guy. This is your guy. You're not sacrificing your guy for 12 more chances of your guy.
To get 5 Oklahoma City picks in the late 20s.
Right.
Doesn't get you there.
Right.
But I mean, if they lose before the finals, I don't know.
Well, that's something we can ponder next week. For Seth Kamens, who's over there, I'm Sean Palmer over here. Happy birthday, my brother. I'll talk to you
next week. Happy birthday, buddy.
Thanks.
Same to you.
Bye.
See you next week.